You think only clueless people get scammed? Cute. Wall Street, packed with PhDs, hedge fund geniuses, and ego the size of Manhattan, got played by one calm, smiling grandfather for 20 years. Stable returns, no risk. Don't worry, I've got a system. Translation, a $65 billion magic trick made of Excel sheets and confidence. If you're sure you never fall for it, congratulations, you're the perfect target. Bernie Madoff walked into rooms and instantly lowered everyone's IQ, not because he was loud, but because he looked like the safest bet on earth. Gray hair, calm face, country club confidence. The type of guy you'd trust with your dog, your kids, and apparently $65 billion. Banks, billionaires, charities, everyone lined up like it was free samples day at Costco. His promise? No drama, no chaos, just steady profits that never had a bad day. Wall Street was burning houses down with get rich fast, while Bernie sold to sleep like a baby. And nothing seduces rich people harder than the idea that they're special enough to get secret returns. Red flags popped up constantly. Numbers too smooth, answers too polished, but ego slapped the snooze button every time. When someone makes you money and makes you feel smart, skepticism dies peacefully. Bernie didn't sell dreams of 10x moonshots. He sold something more addictive, boring, predictable money. Every month up a little, never down much, always calm, like the market had signed a peace treaty with him personally. He used fancy words, split strike this, hedge that, not to explain, but to make questions feel stupid. People didn't understand the strategy, they just understood the returns, and that was enough. Statements arrived in the mail looking beautifully normal. Numbers grew like a well-behaved houseplant. Banks nodded, funds nodded, regulators nodded. Everyone saw what they wanted to see. Consistency equals genius. Investors weren't just making money, they were getting a quiet ego massage. You are special, you're in the circle, you're smarter than the rest. That's the real product he was selling. But the math was rude. Those perfectly balanced trades would have required more options than the market actually had available, as in the strategy physically could not exist. A few nerds raised their hands and said, this is impossible. The room responded with the most powerful financial tool ever invented, collective denial. When returns look good and your reputation is attached, skepticism suddenly becomes negative thinking. 20 years of perfect returns and nobody asked the simplest question, where's the actual investing? The answer wasn't complicated, it was nowhere. The strategy wasn't complicated, it wasn't genius, it didn't exist. Madoff wasn't investing, he was doing middle school accounting cosplay. Take new money, pay old investors, repeat until confidence runs out. That's it, the most expensive kindergarten-level diagram in financial history. The real engine of the scam wasn't spreadsheets, it was status and gatekeeping. He didn't beg for clients, he pretended to be too exclusive. Waiting lists, whispers, we don't accept just anyone. Nothing makes rich people sprint faster than the phrase, you're not allowed in. Feeder funds shoveled billions his way, taking fees just for pointing at him like a human ATM. Nobody wanted to look too closely, because looking too closely kills the golden goose and the management fees. Audits? A gigantic empire checked by a tiny no-name accounting firm above a strip mall. Regulators got warnings, real detailed warnings, and still shrugged. Why? Because Madoff was the establishment. Former NASDAQ chairman, handshakes everywhere, reputation wrapped in Teflon. When a guy is powerful enough, trust quietly replaces evidence. Client statements weren't generated by markets, they were handcrafted fiction, backdated trades, perfectly smooth lines, like someone drew the stock market with a ruler. And the funniest, darkest part? Many investors suspected something was off. Not that it was fake, just that it was too good to be legal. They thought it was a secret edge, not that there was no edge at all. Greed said don't ask questions, ego said you earned this, and so the scam kept breathing. All it took was one thing Madoff couldn't fake. People asking for their money back at the same time. Confidence evaporates, calculators turn honest, and the genius suddenly needs a paper shredder and a confession. Then the slow-motion car crash. Years of greed, tiny warnings, collective, nah, it's fine, and 2008 pulls the fire alarm. Markets tank, fear spikes, and investors suddenly want cash, not statements with pretty numbers. Money in, money out, that's when a Ponzi scheme stops being impressive and starts being math with teeth. There wasn't enough to pay everyone, because there was never enough in the first place. Phones started ringing, redemption requests piled up, the calm golf course energy disappeared. Behind the scenes, it was panic with a suit on. Madoff's empire didn't collapse gradually, it snapped. A tiny mistake became a chain reaction, then a full systems meltdown. Fake profits to bigger lies to even bigger deposits to total implosion. People who thought they were diversified discovered they were actually concentrated in one guy's imagination. Charities lost lifelines, families saw retirements evaporate. Friends, clients, even his own sons were staring at numbers that suddenly meant nothing. The absurdity hit hard. Decades of sophisticated finance undone by a basic question. So where's the money? Fear, anger, embarrassment, it all mixed together. No dramatic villain monologue, no secret mastermind exit, just silence, shattered reputations, and millions realizing that the safest investment they ever believed in was the loudest lie in the room. The tipping point wasn't cinematic fireworks, it was brutally simple. Madoff sat his family down and said the quiet part out loud, "It's all one big lie." Decades of confidence collapsed into one sentence. The legendary investor turned into a guy with a legal pad, admitting he'd been making numbers up like homework on the bus. No secret algorithm, no Wall Street wizardry, just a Ponzi scheme wearing an expensive suit. Jokes aside, that was the moment the illusion died and the consequences walked in.
Reputations vaporized, billions gone, careers nuked. And the wildest part is this. The red flags were there the whole time. The scam didn't hide well. People just chose not to see it. The real damage wasn't just the missing billions, it was the aftertaste. People stopped trusting statements, stopped trusting advisors, stopped trusting themselves. Imagine spending decades believing you were smart with money, then finding out your strategy was just being confident around a really good liar. That messes with your head more than your bank account. Charities had to shut programs, retirement plans turned into back-to-work plans. Families stopped talking to each other because nobody wanted to admit who convinced who to invest. The blast radius of one guy's lies stretched everywhere. Markets, friendships, entire communities. Even honest funds got side-eyed because suddenly consistent returns sounded like a bad joke. Hard truth, the scam worked because it didn't look like a scam. It looked respectable. No Lamborghinis, no gold chains, no crypto bros yelling on YouTube, just a calm man in a nice suit saying soothing numbers. Confidence culture got exposed. We didn't fall for greed alone. We fell for the comfort of not questioning good news. And here's the uncomfortable personal part. Everyone thinks they would have spotted it. Reality check, if something makes your wallet fatter and your ego taller, your brain switches to airplane mode. That's the hidden impact. Thousands of people learned that the most dangerous words in finance aren't "get rich quick," they're "don't worry, it's always steady." Madoff's scheme wasn't powered by genius, it was powered by comfort plus ego. People wanted quiet profits, a smart-sounding story, and the feeling of being in on something special. That combo will override critical thinking every time. The lesson isn't trust no one, it's simpler and ruder. If the returns are always smooth, the story is always vague, and the crowd is always bragging, start asking ugly questions. Money likes volatility. Real investing has bad days, boring years, and uncomfortable truths. When someone promises you growth without bumps, they're not managing risk, they're managing your expectations and your ego. So the takeaway is this. Don't just judge opportunities, judge the part of you that wants them to be true. The next too stable to fail story won't come with villain music. It'll come with compliments, credentials, and a very calm smile. Curiosity protects money better than confidence ever will. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more cool stuff they don't teach you at school.